So in the beginning, when I first started reselling, I pretty much picked up anything and everything. I would pick up a lot of stuff that was cheap. I would pick up stuff that was name brand, just anything that I could kind of find that would sell. I put it in my cart. And when I started, I thought having more listings, having more items meant more success, and that's basically what I thought. So fast forward a few years and I had around 1,600 active listings. And my racks were full. I had boxes stacked on boxes. I had random piles of unlisted inventory, piles of items that I needed to donate, and items that I just had bought, and I was like, why did I buy these? And basically I was just trying to do more. I was trying to list more items. I was trying to find more items, and I never felt like my store was enough. I never felt like I had enough in my store, and I was just trying to produce more. And somewhere along that line, I just really stopped enjoying it. I stopped loving reselling. So today I kind of want to talk a little bit about some of the items that I no longer pick up, whether that be actual physical items, the mindsets, or just kind of pressures that I put on myself that kind of have helped me reconnect with reselling in a more meaningful way. When I started reselling, I had this way of thinking that success to me was about having more listings and how much I could list. Basically, how productive I was as a reseller, or just how many times I could go to the bins, or how much I could fill up my cart. And I just fell into kind of what I like to call the reseller hustle. And I just would see everyone just nonstop hustling. And I truly thought this was success. So I wanted to do what I saw everyone else doing. I wanted to emulate that same kind of mentality to show that I could keep up, to show that I was successful. And I definitely did fall into a trap of feeling that comparison and feeling like I needed to prove to myself. And I kind of started feeling like the business that I had built for myself and working for myself was now my own trap, and my business was no longer working for me. I was working for my business, if that makes sense. But I felt this constant trap from this invisible quota that I put on myself. I told myself that I would beat myself up, basically, if I could not do the listings, if I could not do 10 listings a day, or if I could not find 50 items at the bins. And now what I do is I focus on finding those good quality pieces, or those pieces that I'm excited about. I'm not saying that I go out and find $50 items every time I go. I don't. That's not realistic for me. But what I do focus on is I try to tell myself, hey, if you find 5 solid pieces, that to me is so much better than trying to get up 10, 15 items that either I'm not super excited about listing or that are lower ROI. I try to focus on higher ROI, but do I find it all the time? No. I just try to take that pressure off, because the way that I was going about things and the way that I was reselling before just was draining me. And I was in this vicious cycle of feeling better and then going back to burnout, feeling better, going back to burnout. And I knew that I had to change something. I knew that I had to switch something up and give myself that grace. I don't list every day anymore. And at first it was very scary for me to do that, because I had so much fear about if I didn't list every day, I wouldn't make the sales that I wanted to make. And honestly, guess what? My sales did not go away. They didn't stop. Yes, they kind of slowed down a little bit, but my burnout kind of started to go away. This is not to say that there's anything with hustling for reselling. That's not what I'm saying. I'm telling you my experience and what I've learned from that experience. This is not a how to resell. This is not a do this and this is how it is done. This is just my own experience and what I have experienced with reselling and how I'm kind of changing it now. The bigger hauls you have, the better views it gets, right? Everybody loves a big haul. Everybody loves to see what you find. Everybody loves to see the amount, the huge bins hauls or the huge thrift store hauls. The bigger the haul, the better the video, or that's kind of what I thought. And this really did lead to overbuying. I would pick up stuff that had flaws. I would pick up things that I wasn't excited about, but I knew that could generally get me maybe a quick flip. But behind the scenes, I kind of had piles of clothes everywhere. I had giant bags of IKEA bags that I was waiting to do hauls for that I couldn't really put away, and seeing all that clutter out really kind of stressed me out. Looking back, I also realized something a little harder to admit. I feel like these videos also were unintentionally kind of contributing or encouraging the same kind of impulsive buying that I was experiencing. And that left a really bad taste in my mouth, because I was like, that is the furthest thing that I want to do. I never want to encourage people to constantly buy, to constantly feed that compulsion, if that makes sense. Kind of the whole culture itself is a sneaky way of kind of normalizing that cycle. Buy, show the items, and kind of repeat. And I have fallen victim to it, and I just noticed that about myself, and I didn't want to do that anymore. So that was something I definitely changed. You've probably noticed that I don't really like to show a lot of haul videos anymore, and I haven't shown any thrift with me content because I'm trying to kind of rethink the thrift with me content. I still want to show it for sure. I want to create that type of content for you guys. I want to show you thrift with me content, but I want it to come from a place of being intentional and showing that you don't have to find all these amazing things. If you find a couple great things, that's awesome. And I want to share that learning to slow down, be more selective with your business, not only your business, but in your life, is, I feel, more beneficial. And it's okay to figure out what is enough for you, because that is definitely something I struggled with a lot. I felt like no matter how many listings, like I said before, I never felt like I had enough. So the next thing that I stopped buying is damaged items or high effort fixer-uppers. So I used to, obviously, as you guys know, I like to shop at the Goodwill outlet a lot, or the Goodwill bins. And while I think it's great, you do come across items that are damaged, stained, have holes, just need some fixer-upping. And I was getting into a really bad habit of picking up items because they were a good brand, they were a good size, they were good everything, but they had flaws on them. So I was like, ooh, I'll take them home, I'll try to rework the flaws, I'll fix a hole here and there. And I'm not to say that rescuing items is not bad, but I'm really, really selective with the items that I pick up that I do rescue. So, basically, my mindset is time is money. So if I'm spending a lot of time on these items to fix them, my time needs to equal that. Like, the item needs to sell for a good amount of money to justify that time spent on it. So, and before I was not doing that. And a big one I was doing is I was picking up shoes. And shoes, fun fact about me is I do not like to sell shoes at all. I do not like to touch shoes. I do not like to clean shoes. I do not like to do really anything with shoes. I will only pick up shoes if they are pristine, like they do not even need cleaning. I know when I sit down, if that item needs a lot of cleaning, a lot of fixing up, like shoes or something like that, I'm not gonna list it. So for me, I'm wasting my money doing that. So the next one is I no longer want to do, or I've stopped doing live sales. Now, I know that I was super excited about live sales before, and I felt that it would be a great opportunity to not only move old inventory, but just be able to connect with people. But I started to notice some things that I did not enjoy about live selling. And the first thing is I felt like I was always performing. After every live show, instead of feeling invigorated and excited, I felt extremely overwhelmed and extremely drained. And it had nothing to do with how the live show went in general. It just was, it's a lot. You know, you have to prep the items. I had to pull all the items from the boxes. I had to make sure the pricing. I had to make sure to make note of any flaws on the items. And it was becoming more work than what I was gaining from it, if that makes sense. I know everybody is different. You're entitled to do whatever you want for your reselling business. And, you know, if you do live sales, that's great. You know, this is not a knock for that. I just felt this immense pressure, and I was also buying things for the live show. I would tell myself at the Goodwill outlet, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to buy stuff that I'm going to list. But in the back of my mind, it's like, oh, this could sell. This is super cute. This is brightly colored. And it might have not been a great brand at all. You know, luckily, I kind of stopped before I started noticing that big problem. But I was picking up stuff that I probably shouldn't have, and I've had to donate. Now I just focus on listing and running my own business at my own pace, and it's taken a lot of pressure. I was also trying to plan content creation and plan live shows and do listings, and I was like, girl, this is way too overwhelming. You gotta let something go. And I was like, okay, well, I don't wanna let YouTube go because I love YouTube and I love reselling, so I'm definitely gonna let go the live shows. So that is what I did. The next one is, I guess, a personal reflection, because it's something I kind of learned throughout this entire process of doing this. And it's more of what I don't pick up emotionally anymore. And I guess the first one is, or I guess the biggest shift is not really hyper-focused on inventory. It's more hyper-focused on energy. So I don't pick up pressure anymore. So I do not pressure myself into listing every day or sourcing every day, or just kind of growing faster to hit these arbitrary numbers. I know with reselling, the more time and effort you put into your business, usually the more you will get out of it. But I had to dig deep and figure out what was good for me. I didn't want to scale a huge reselling business. I didn't want to be a 6-figure reseller. I didn't want to make all this money just to be miserable at the end of it. I don't pick up guilt when I rest. You know, if I have a rest day, I tell myself I need 2 rest days a week minimum. And I also take a half day too. So rest is not earned. It is an obligation, and it is something that I tell myself that I am doing. I am fitting it into my schedule, whether I like it or not. I don't feel guilty about it. And I think the biggest thing for me is just understanding that mindful reselling for me is not about doing less, because I do love reselling. I don't want it to come across as I don't love it or that I'm not a hard worker. It's about doing what feels right for me and not comparing myself to everyone else I see or comparing what society says is successful, because society does say the harder you work, the more you earn, all this stuff, the more successful you are. But it drained me. and slowing down, I also started reading my Bible more, and that was something that was really important to me and that I neglected for a while. And just spending time, with God and silence, really, it showed me, he opened my eyes to seeing that this way that I was going about things was not sustainable. And if I want reselling to be sustainable, which I do, I really want reselling to continue to work for me, I have to make some changes. So those are the things that I stopped picking up. Either they were at the thrift store or they were just in my life, and things and habits that I was making for myself. Learned that less actually means so much more. It just means more clarity, more peace, and more enjoyment in the way that I work. I don't have to hustle all day, every day to be successful in my eyes, and I can change what I view success. So if you're kind of feeling overwhelmed or burnt out, maybe it's not about doing more. Maybe it's about letting go of some of those few things that you were doing in your life that caused these issues. And I would love to know, what are some things that you stopped picking up, whether it be in your reselling business or in your life? What are some things that you changed that helped you? Let's talk about it. I love reading your guys' comments, and I think it's so helpful for, all of us to learn from each other. So thank you so much for being here and supporting this slower, more intentional journey. And I can't thank you guys enough. I will catch you in the next video next week. All right, see you later. Bye, guys.